Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Lynn Whitbeck, and I'm the host of Get More Clients. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down leads, lack client retention, conversion, and profits. That's right. And the mission of this show is to educate, inspire, and motivate women and men around the world to build a robust sales strategy to get more clients because most can't get more clients and haven't a clue why. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, eliminate the lengthy, chaotic sales cycle to ignite your sales, and unleash lasting profits. You'll also have the opportunity to connect with me further to see how I can support you beyond today. So as I was sitting in the meeting and the presentation began, I started to notice immediately that the presentation was a mess. There had to be like 8 different font styles on it. The slides were just filled with text. I mean, it was just, like, could you get another word edgewise in there? The images were actually, well, first of all, they were, not attractive, but they were completely distorted, like the proportion. So the pictures of the people, they look like some kind of aliens, right? That had been stretched on some kind of horrible machine. And I'm sitting there and I'm so distracted by the way this presentation looks. And I'm thinking, why and how would I want to work with a company that is so disorganized and such a hot mess? I don't get it. And I'm literally not listening to the presenter because I'm at war in my mind with the presentation and with that person and company and how they're representing themselves. Because they're not representing themselves as capable, competent, reliable. And I am like, wow, what a mess. So that is a story and a real life situation that I want you to take to heart. So last week, we discussed 8 must-haves to boost your confidence when presenting. And today, I'm going to be discussing what makes a huge hat talk with your special sauce. Now, your talk visuals, whether a slide deck, handouts, or signage, will garner immediate engagement because they're visual. You don't need an elaborate presentation. I want to be really clear on that. The key focus is to deliver value, make it memorable, and connect with your audience. By the end of today's show, you will know how and where to start to have a cohesive set of visuals, how to avoid that hot mess, and where you shine and how to put your superpower to work. A good presentation design enhances and supports your talk and effectively communicating your message. A poor design distracts and detracts from the ideas you need to articulate. And if it's a hot mess, it's going to reflect on you and your business. Your client will perceive negative traits such as lack of attention, non-existent quality control, and even incompetence. However, this does not mean that you need to have an elaborately designed presentation, special effects, or unique software. Clean and simple is always effective. By following best practices, you can easily craft a winning presentation. So let's talk about those best practices. Let's go into a slide deck design. So here are some things that you need to take note of. You want to use up to 3 font sizes. This is actually universal, whether it's on a marketing material, on your website, and except for like the main header, which can be really big, 3 font styles and sizes. So be that consistency. The fonts should be easy to read. If you're using a dripping marker, if you know what that one is, a very crazy font, it's going to be harder for your audience even to read the bullet points. All right. So think about the font that you're using. And especially if you're presenting on the stage and you've got a room full of people, the people in the back, they need to be able to see clearly your slide and the text that's on it. Now, with that, you want minimal text on those slides. Okay. We're talking just very simple bullet points. You do not want your audience distracted by trying to read what's on the slide. All right. It's literally a heading with a couple of bullet points. What's that slide about? It helps you when you're doing the presentation. You can literally look at it and you know what your talking points are. Now, when you're doing a presentation, apply your own brand colors. And I want to tell you that if you want to be just super simple and use black and white, go for it. Okay. It's clean. It's simple. You don't need anything else. However, if you're using your brand colors, then you want to stay with 5 colors or fewer. And optimally, you're going to actually use less colors in your presentation. Now, I want you to also think about how you can employ a template that incorporates your logo. Because if you end up sending the slide deck out as a bonus or as an after the event, you want to make sure that your logo's on every page. And it doesn't need to be big, all right? Think subtle. You can place it in either one of the 4 corners or centered left or right on the top or the bottom. All right, now let's talk about some other best practices when it comes to images, video, and music. The first thing is usage rights, all right? Especially if you're in a big conference room, you're not going to want to be using Taylor Swift's latest hit because you don't have the rights to use that music. All right. It's just that simple. Now, there are many low-cost or royalty-free options. We use a tool called Envato, which once you pay for that access, you have music, you have videos, you have images. It's terrific. You have templates, all kinds of things. Very reasonable for an entire year subscription. Now, the whole point about this is that you want people to respect your copyrights, all the original intellectual property that you're delivering. So treat others as you would have them treat you. So respect your copyrights. Now, on images, you want to use good quality images. They need to be sharp. They need to be clean. They need to be crisp. And those are the places that you can get them from a number of different resources that you can have those usage rights. Now, remember I talked about that aspect ratio at the beginning and that hot mess? Distorted pictures are distracting to your audience because something's wrong with the picture. And that's what pictures are so provocative. People immediately gravitate to them and they start to go, what's going on? What's wrong here? You don't want that distraction, right? The images should also represent your brand, your values, and your mission. So that's an important consideration. And a picture speaks 1,000 words. People can process images so much faster than words. So that image needs to represent what you're trying to communicate on that particular slide deck. And I want to tell you a story. This is real quick, but a presentation that I saw that was all about communication and having difficult discussions and how you manage those. And the images that were on the only thing on the slide was an image. And they actually chose images of animals and animal behavior that represented what that part of the slide of the talk was about. And that picture, you immediately, with the animals, you could see them like butting heads, and you knew what that meant, like 2 rams, you know? So you don't have to, you can actually use images that really focus people's attention on the emotions, the motivations, and what you are trying to communicate. Now, video and music. You want to verify that your presentation location is going to support video and music without lag or distortion. when you're doing that virtually, this is quite important because it's not just your bandwidth, and how fast your Wi-Fi is and if it's reliable, but also those members of your audience. So that is a consideration that you want to take into account. Now, the appearance of your presentation, it influences your audience's perception of both you and the information you're presenting. So let's walk through our presentation roadmap. Now, it's time to create an outline of your presentation. You're going to write the content, you're going to craft the visuals, and you're going to go to the slides and build those slides out. You're going to create the outline in the same way you would for any other document, whether it's a flyer, it's on your website, whether you're creating a lead magnet. So the framework is going to, of course, depend upon the purpose of the presentation. An initial presentation to key stockholders or stakeholders, I should say, is obviously looks quite different than a quarterly business review. And this framework outline will help you draft the flow and identify the elements that are needed for your presentation. So let's walk through these elements that you need to have. Purpose, the client's, what benefits them by, so they can. So when we go back to our client thinking, what do they want, need, or lack? What problem does it solve? What area of concern? What's in it for them? How is this going to benefit them? Why does it matter to them? So they can. All right, make sure you've got that. An icebreaker interaction. So sometimes people are coming into the room late. There's a number of ways that you can use different techniques to really grab the audience's attention and have them to stop using your iPhone. And so now the next thing is, what's the introduction? What's your first primary point? What data, visuals, or materials are you going to need and use to support that point? And what's the interaction to support that point? Now, you've got the second point, and you go through the same data, visuals, materials to support the point, and interaction to support the point. Now we've got the third point. And think in threes: data, visuals, materials, and then the interaction. Then you move into your Q&A, and you have your next steps and takeaways. Remember your minimal actionable commitment. And then the conclusion and expression of gratitude for people having attended and being with you. Now, let's go through the nitty-gritty to avoid the hot mess, just like the story I started at the beginning. There are so many elements to building a presentation. And I've said this, you don't have to have a fancy schmancy presentation, okay? A simple black and white design with a default font like Arial is absolutely fine. The key is that it's clean and consistent. You have simple bullet points with the core things that you're going to discuss on that slide. And here's the thing, you don't want it to look like a 5-year-old made it, right? With a million different colors and fonts and images stretched all over the place. And I want to really hit this home because a really good looking presentation, it does deliver value and impact. That presentation I told you about that just had those really big pictures of animals and behavior, it tied directly into the talk, and we could tell exactly what we were really focused on in that discussion of like the rams butting heads and how people are having that kind of conflict, right? It can highlight your attention to detail when you have a great looking presentation, and it keeps your audience more engaged. When putting together your presentation, stay within your branding. Add your logo on every slide, as I mentioned. Be humble, keep it small, and it shouldn't be huge or overwhelm the page, all right? Because if you share the slide deck later, you want it identifiable as your intellectual property. I already touched base about the fonts, and that's a key branding element. A design guideline is to never use more than 3 different fonts. or 3 font sizes. And remember, unless it's that big, bold heading, okay? So think about this. If you're using Arial, then you've got Arial Bold and Arial Italic. That's 3 fonts. And you're using 3 different font sizes. The whole aesthetic is to keep the design clean and really consistent. Now, the same consideration applies for colors. Now, I've already talked about that. The rule of thumb is to use 3 to 5 colors, and you can still use just plain old black and white. But another part about those 3 colors is they need to work well in a palette. And you don't need to splash the whole rainbow on your slides, not unless you've got some kind of rainbow theme going on, right? Less is more. When it comes to images, be very focused on the images that you select. To be honest, sometimes selecting images can take longer than almost anything else, searching for the right images. And here's the real big thing. People process images faster than they process what you're saying. So that image of those 2 ram heads butting their heads, right? Those 2 rams butting their heads, that's what they're going to process. They get it. They get the disconnect to how people are having that conflict. And that speaks faster to them than words on the screen. And I want you to really think about the images that you're using and those image rights. So there's a lot of free resources. So I'm going to go over some of those. There's things like Wiki Commons or Pixabay, where you can get free copyrighted images, or copyright free, I should say free, copyright free images. There we go. Say it twice, say it 3 times. And there's a number of really great paid resources. I've already mentioned Envato Elements, which the thing about that I love is that it also includes music and video and templates. There's Stock Photo Secrets, and there's 123RF. And it also includes video and other assets. So that image quality is so important. Just don't skimp here. You don't want pictures that are grainy and they look like they're from 2002 or they just look god awful. And the really good quality images, they serve you well because people know that you took care when you're building your presentation. That's almost like a subliminal message, but it's very clear to them that you're capable and competent. And bonus, anytime you can use your own original photos, it's a plus. It makes your presentations more personal, regardless of whether you took the images or you're using stock images. Remember that aspect ratio, okay? So keep that locked. And you just don't want those to be distorted, not unless you're intentionally doing it. So I already have talked about this. A picture is worth 1,000 words, but let me get you some data. Scientists have found that the human brain can achieve the remarkable feat of processing an image in just 13 milliseconds in a heartbeat. 60,000 times faster than text. So images also convey values and emotions and motivations. So they really tie in with what you're trying to communicate. Now let's talk about your presentation software. While it matters what software you're using, it doesn't matter as much as you might think. So back in the day, I remember when Prezi was really taking off and sort of like cool speakers were using Prezi for their presentations. Now I tried it and it didn't really work well for me because the most important thing is that you should be familiar with the software that you're using. And I really wasn't familiar with it. So don't try to go and do something fancy and cool when you don't really know how to do it. And your presentation is like tomorrow. You just end up looking a little bit silly when the presentation is just not working well. So there are some cases where your software matters as well. So this is a great example because I'm a Mac user. And while I love creating presentations in Keynote, I don't tend to use that because I need to be mindful of when I'm sharing the presentation. And if I'm using someone else's computer or a computer at a client's office, most likely it's not a Mac. Then I have to make sure that I've got a compatible platform and software. Because if I create a program like Keynote, they're not going to be able to use it. So the same rule applies. I was just talking about those location specifics. It's important to know which computer you're going to be using. Is it yours or theirs? And if it's yours, what type of cables are you going to need? How are you going to be connecting with it? How are you going to plug into the projector? Are you going to be able to connect to their Wi-Fi if you need Wi-Fi? And is it going to be stable for you? And you need to know how to run all the software. There used to be this great virtual tool, but I discovered that at certain clients, it was literally blocked by their firewall. So I couldn't share that. I couldn't use it. So check all these things out. And also, if you're doing something on site, get there ahead of time. Check out all those connections, troubleshoot any potential problems, and make sure everything's working so that when you get out on that stage, you've got it. So the number one goal with any presentation, talk, summit, webinar, masterclass is that you don't want it to look like a hot mess. Because your presentation reflects you, your business, and product or service. You want to be relayed or portrayed, I should say, and have them, your clients, your audience perception of you be reliable, that you pay attention to the details, and that you're capable. If your presentation is a hot mess, just like my story at the beginning, your audience is going to be distracted. They're possibly going to go to war with you in their mind. A simple white slide with black text and bullet points is way better, okay? It's just simply way better and far more effective than a poorly assembled slide deck. So there are many ways you can make your presentations unique and stand out for others. And while you're making your presentation, think about what special elements you can bring in. Now, here are a few ideas to get your creativity juices flowing. You can include a short, emotionally powerful video. You can use music to set the tone. Consider how music or a video will help illustrate the point you're making. They need to be connected with what you're trying to communicate during the presentation. And of course, remember that music and video may need extra bandwidth to stream effectively, especially during virtual presentations. And of course, most music and video is copyright, so be mindful of getting those licensing or use those tools that I've already mentioned, because there's plenty of media out there that is free and fair use. Now, older music has often fallen out of copyright, especially really old music like classical music. There's no copyright on it anymore. So however, as I mentioned, you can get licensing if you use a paid site like Envato. Now, here's another idea to stand out when you're doing your presentation. Use humor. Business meetings don't have to be overly serious and boring. And of course, your presentations don't have to be serious and boring. You don't want them to be boring. So you can use humor to make it more interesting and engaging. So you can use humor to make your points. You can use them in your stories. Key point is don't force humor. It can still be light and casual and engaging without being too serious or formal. One pointer on humor is that it's still a professional setting. So I want to have you really take this to heart. Be mindful of the jokes that you're using and make sure they're not inappropriate for the workplace or in any way offensive. And if you're presenting to an international group, this is a big bonus. You must recognize that humor doesn't always translate well. So keep this in mind, who you're talking to and whether the joke will resonate with your audience. Regardless of whether you use humor or not, smile. Make eye contact with your audience. Be friendly and welcoming. Smiling lights you up and it makes your voice sound friendlier too. Smiling makes it easier for people to listen while making you more likable. And what about props? Most people are very visual and having props can be helpful. And you can use these props for yourself or for your audience, right? So you can have things, if you're doing a big presentation, you can have them at the on site, you can have them on the table, or you can have them in the room. And it can also be that novelty, and it adds a new dimension to your presentation. And when it's hard to describe how something works or how it looks, providing a demonstration will really help. And a demonstration enables people to understand how a product works or how they could use it for themselves, their company, or organization. Now, finally, consider participation. What's more engaging than getting your audience to actually participate in the presentation? And this is a great icebreaker. Make your presentation interactive. And this is a great place to start to talk to the entire audience and get them focused and engaged. Ask the audience questions when you're presenting and pause. Let them formulate an answer, even if you then continue on with your presentation. You can even use a quiz and reward those with the most correct answers. You can also get people to make something or do something with their hands. I think at one point I mentioned how I would bring Play-Doh to meetings. And the activity, you wouldn't have to remember, it needs to synthesize with your message. So all of these suggestions will make you and your presentation more memorable for the audience. So as we wrap up, I really want to talk about your superpower. You want to provide your audience the inspiration to learn more, take the next steps towards achieving their objectives when presenting. So here are some ideas to grab and hold their attention. I'm going to go through these really fast. Stimulate their curiosity, make a bold claim, ask questions, contradict expectations. I just mentioned using Play-Doh. Take a poll, have a quiz, gamify an activity, spin a surprising story, quote a famous personality or proverb, have a mini contest, take a joke, tell a joke, use humor, connect to a memorable event, create an experience, a call to adventure, complete an exercise, do a demonstration, use props to illustrate a point, and there's video and music. Making your presentation or talk memorable moves your audience towards the next step in their sales journey. Thank you so much for tuning in. My purpose is for you to get more clients. Bottom line, don't make this harder than it has to be. Sales should be a win-win. On behalf of Petite Queen, I've carved out a limited number of time slots to invite you to hop on and ignite your sales call with me to see what's working, not working, and what you would love to have working. I'm going to see how I might further support you in generating more leads, converting more sales, and fulfilling on your promise as a brand and organization. The fastest way to success is to assure people know that they matter. And the best way to make this happen is to build a consistent sales strategy to acquire, convert, and capitalize on every lead. You will find growing your business is easy and lucrative. Today, I shared what makes a huge hit talk with your special sauce. The key is for you to implement these steps to stop wasting time, energy, and resources. You have the opportunity to jump in and get the support you need for success. Say yes to you and get on a call with me. I am truly gifted at this, and you deserve a shortcut to your success with the right support. Go to p2q.link/win-win. And to learn more about our Get More Clients programs, you can visit our website at Petite to Queen. You can also connect with me on our website, and to stay current on all of our insightful advice, breakthrough advantages, and never miss an episode of Get More Clients, sign up for our weekly wisdoms newsletter at petitetoqueen.com. And next week on Get More Clients, I will share why unlocking your unique value vault promises rewards. So I'll be seeing you next week on Get More Clients.